So this is another video that I'm posting up on the website. So for those of you who have never seen a video before, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a concept and you can follow along, you can fast forward, you can skip a part if you feel like you're good to go, or you can go back and rewatch it if you need to. So this video is all about regrouping when subtracting fractions, okay? So basically, when we start out with a normal fraction, a normal subtraction problem, for example, 5 1/2 take away a fourth. Well, we notice right away that our denominators are different, so we know we're going to have to use least common multiple, or LCM, to make our denominators the same. Now, if that's hard for you, you can look down here and see in pictures that we're dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wholes. There's our five wholes, and a half. There's our half right there, okay? And here we're trying to take away this 1/4, okay? Now, as you notice, 1/4 is a little bit smaller than 1/2, okay? But again, they're pieces. The size of the piece is a little bit different. Now, I purposely made these fractions easy to work with, but when you're working with fractions like, sevenths take away ninths, you're going to definitely want to use LCM to help you out, least common multiple. Okay, so we hop down here to least common multiple, and again, this is just a regular, normal, easy to work with subtraction problem. We look at our denominator, we list it here, we write a little colon here, and then we find all of the multiples, and we're going to see if any of the multiples can match our fraction that we're trying to make the same over here. Okay, so we list out the multiples 2, 4, 6, and 8, and I'm going to stop right there because I can already see that 4 is a common multiple between the two. You see that? Okay, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to convert my 1/2 into fourths, okay? Now remember, to do that, you've got to multiply the denominator by a number to get 4, to get fourths, but also you have to multiply the numerator to get fourths, okay? So we're not just doing the denominator, we're doing also the numerator by the same number. Otherwise, our fraction would change. Our pieces would change. We don't want to do that. We want to keep our fraction exactly the same. Okay, so we convert that. 5 1/2 is exactly the same thing. It's equivalent to 5 2/4. And now look at our problem. Easy peasy. 5 2/4 minus 1/4. Easy peasy. We can figure that out. Our answer is going to be 5 1/4. Okay, 5 1/4. Okay, so now we're going to hop down here. This is a little bit trickier. This problem now, we've got 5 1/2, and we're not talking about 1/4 anymore. We're talking about 3/4. So go ahead and have a look here. I accidentally shaded in a full hole, but I meant to actually, that should be white there. So instead of having 4/4, one whole, it should be 3/4. So I apologize. Let me go ahead and fix that right now. But anyway, when you look at this, you're going to go ahead and you're going to see that, oh my gosh, we're talking about a pretty big fraction here. Let me go ahead and shade this in. There we go. That's a little bit better. So now you can see, wow, we're dealing with 3/4, and looky here, 3/4 is bigger than 1/2. How am I going to subtract something that is bigger from something that's smaller? Well, remember back when you were in second grade and you were trying to take away, let's say, 14, and you were trying to take away 9. You see that there? 14 take away 9. What would you do? Well, that's right. You would borrow from the tens column. You'd borrow that 10 there, and you would make that a 14, okay? Well, that was a bad example, but you can see where we're coming from. We're borrowing from the column ahead of us, and we're adding it to our ones here to help us subtract, to help us take away, okay? We can do the same thing just like that. We can do it down here, okay? So now, where are we going to borrow it from? Well, we've got, looky here, we've got 5 holes that we can borrow from. We can take one of those holes and we can actually borrow some fractions from it. Let me show you how. So the first step we're going to do is I've written out exactly the same thing right here. I've written out my 5 holes and 1/2. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert our halves to a least common multiple, just so that we can deal with the fourths better with the halves. So just like the last normal problem, we're going to use LCM. And again, it's fourths, so we're doing the exact same thing. 2, we list out all the multiples, 2, 4, 6, and I stopped at 6 because we see right away, aha, 4. That's our least common multiple. We can just convert our halves into fourths. So again, we're doing the exact same thing. We multiply times 2. Our new denominator becomes 4. We do the same thing up top to our numerator. That's going to become 2. 1/2 is the same exact thing as 2/4. Okay, so our new problem now is 5/2. Let me go ahead and show you how I did this. I went ahead and I took our original 5 1/2 and I just basically changed it now to fourths. Okay, so you can kind of see I just basically cut them into smaller pieces. That's all I did. Our amount does not change. We still have 5 1/2, but another way to show 1/2 is 5 and 2/4. That's where our 2/4 came from, right there, okay? So again, I just wrote this now using fourths, and now we're gonna ask ourselves, oh my gosh, look at this. We're still having an issue here. We've got 2/4, and we wanna take away 3 of those. Well, we don't have 3 of them, we only have 2. Again, bigger number than that. So what we're gonna do is, just like our 2nd grade math problem, we're going to borrow from our holes, okay? So now looky here. I'm going to take one of these, I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to actually use that, okay? We know that 1 hole is the same thing as saying 4/4. See how that's 1 hole? But we can also look at it as 4/4 because we're talking about fourths here, okay? So we're going to take that, we're going to borrow it, and we're just going to add it to our 2/4, okay? And that's going to become our fraction here. And you can see what I did here. I had our 2/4 plus our 4/4, which we borrowed from our hole here, and we add them together, and we get, look here, 6/4. All right, and look, you can actually see it in the picture. If we count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6/4. I have 6/4 that I'm dealing with, and we're talking about holes, 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. So again, we borrowed from our hole. We don't have 5 holes anymore. We have 4 holes. We took one of those holes and we turned it into 4/4. We added it together with our 2/4. And we get our 6/4. So our fraction is 4 6/4, okay? So going back up to the original problem, we were trying to take away 3/4. But now we're dealing with an easier fraction. 4 6/4 take away 3/4. Well, looky here. This number is nice and bigger than this one. We can go ahead and take that away. Our answer is 4 3/4, okay? All right, so hopefully this video was helpful to you. I'm going to give you some practice problems to work on in class. If you have any questions, we'll go over it again, but feel free to watch the video if it's helpful to you. And toodaloo.